In a significant development that millions of Americans have eagerly anticipated, Congress has successfully passed new legislation pertaining to Social Security that includes provisions for additional financial support to eligible beneficiaries as early as this month. For countless older adults navigating the challenges of fixed incomes, even modest adjustments to their monthly benefits can create meaningful improvements in their quality of life. This comprehensive update examines exactly what this legislative achievement means, the rationale behind lawmakers' decisions, the potential impact on monthly payments, and crucial information seniors should monitor in the coming weeks. For anyone relying on Social Security, Supplemental Security Income, disability benefits, or survivor payments, this information deserves careful consideration as it directly affects financial stability, household budgeting, and overall peace of mind. Throughout recent years, the financial strain on retirees has intensified considerably. The cost of groceries, housing, prescription medications, utilities, and transportation has risen substantially, leaving many seniors expressing concerns that their monthly benefits no longer provide the purchasing power they once did. Lawmakers from across the political spectrum have consistently heard these worries during town hall meetings, constituent correspondence, and policy discussions. While federal spending debates frequently involve complex and sometimes contentious negotiations, one issue tends to generate widespread consensus: the principle that older Americans deserve financial predictability after dedicating decades of contributions to the system. The newly enacted legislation emerged from extensive months of careful negotiation and deliberation. Legislators thoroughly examined economic indicators, inflation trends, healthcare expenditures, and long-range projections concerning retirement security. A primary objective throughout these discussions was crafting near-term relief measures that would not compromise the fundamental long-term structure of Social Security. Policymakers recognized that sudden or poorly conceived changes could generate confusion among beneficiaries, so considerable attention focused on maintaining clarity, preserving stability, and delivering targeted support to those most in need. At its foundation, this legislative package addresses two significant concerns that have dominated conversations within retirement communities. The first involves the ongoing challenge of keeping benefit amounts appropriately aligned with actual living expenses. The second concerns the necessity of responding promptly when economic conditions shift more rapidly than standard adjustment mechanisms can accommodate. Although annual cost of living adjustments already exist to help benefits maintain pace with inflation, there are circumstances when lawmakers determine that supplementary action is warranted. According to bill supporters, current economic conditions represent precisely such a circumstance. When officials announce that Congress has passed Social Security legislation, including extra payment provisions, what exactly does this mean in practical terms? Essentially, the legislation authorizes a supplemental financial enhancement designed to reach qualifying beneficiaries without requiring complicated application procedures or extensive paperwork. The emphasis throughout planning has been on operational efficiency, with officials intending to distribute payments through existing administrative infrastructure so seniors face minimal delays or bureaucratic obstacles. For many retirees, news of additional payments immediately raises practical questions about potential amounts, timing, impact on regular monthly benefits, and perhaps most importantly, qualification criteria. While administrative agencies will ultimately manage technical implementation details, lawmakers have already provided guidance designed to prevent misunderstandings and establish clear expectations. One particularly reassuring aspect of this update involves the preservation of regular Social Security payments, which remain unchanged and uninterrupted. The supplementary payment functions as an addition to existing benefits rather than a replacement or substitution. This distinction matters tremendously because beneficiaries depend heavily on predictable deposit schedules for their financial planning. Financial advisors consistently remind retirees that payment consistency represents one of Social Security's most valuable features, enabling households to budget with genuine confidence and foresight. Understanding why this legislation gains sufficient momentum for passage requires stepping back to examine the broader economic context. Even when inflation begins moderating following periods of rapid increases, prices rarely revert to previous levels. Instead, they typically stabilize at elevated baselines, meaning many seniors continue experiencing economic effects long after headline inflation concerns fade from media attention. Lawmakers reference this reality repeatedly during legislative discussions, noting that retirees generally have fewer opportunities to increase their income compared to working-age individuals who can pursue additional employment or career advancement. Healthcare expenditures played an especially influential role in shaping this legislation. Medical costs tend to increase with age, and unexpected health-related expenses can rapidly disrupt even the most carefully constructed financial plans. Policymakers heard directly from retirees describing difficult decisions to postpone necessary procedures, stretch medication supplies, or reduce spending on essentials simply to maintain household budgets. These personal accounts helped reinforce the urgency behind legislative action and underscored the human impact of financial strain among older populations. Another significant factor driving bipartisan support was recognition that Social Security functions as more than simply another government program. For millions of Americans, it represents the very foundation of retirement income security. Numerous households depend on these benefits for the majority of their monthly financial resources. When purchasing power diminishes, the consequences ripple throughout daily life, affecting nutritional choices, housing stability, and overall well-being. Bill supporters frame the legislation as both practically helpful and preventatively valuable, arguing that providing additional funds now may help seniors avoid more severe financial hardship later. Preventative policy approaches often receive less attention than emergency interventions, but their importance can be equally significant. Regarding timing, which typically concerns people most immediately upon hearing such news, agencies must still coordinate distribution logistics, but the legislative intent emphasizes prompt implementation. Officials understand that financial relief proves most helpful when it arrives without prolonged uncertainty or extended waiting periods. The expectation is that existing payment systems will be utilized wherever feasible, allowing funds to flow through channels already familiar to beneficiaries. For individuals currently receiving benefits through direct deposit, supplementary payments would ordinarily follow that same electronic path. For those receiving paper checks, the process should similarly mirror established delivery methods. This consistency helps minimize confusion, which becomes a major priority whenever millions of individual payments are involved. It is equally important to recognize that whenever new payment programs are announced, misinformation can spread rapidly through various channels. Experts are already reminding beneficiaries to exercise caution regarding unsolicited telephone calls, electronic messages, or correspondence claiming to accelerate benefit access or requiring enrollment fees. In most circumstances, legitimate payments connected to federal programs do not necessitate sudden enrollment actions or payment of processing fees. Remaining patient, skeptical of unsolicited offers, and informed through official channels provides the strongest protection against potential scams targeting seniors. Considering eligibility more broadly, while final administrative details inevitably matter significantly, lawmakers designed this measure intending to reach those most dependent upon Social Security income. This includes numerous retirees, individuals receiving disability benefits, and survivors relying on monthly support following spousal loss. Policymakers consistently emphasize that these population groups frequently possess limited financial flexibility when prices increase. There exists a psychological dimension to such updates that sometimes receives insufficient attention. Financial uncertainty generates stress affecting sleep quality, health outcomes, and overall life satisfaction. Even anticipating additional support can provide meaningful relief. Researchers studying retirement patterns consistently note that predictability correlates strongly with emotional well-being among older populations. For years, financial experts have encouraged retirees to maintain emergency savings whenever circumstances permit. Yet these same experts acknowledge that not everyone has managed to accomplish this goal, particularly individuals who faced medical challenges, employment disruptions, or caregiving responsibilities during earlier life stages. Supplementary payments can serve as temporary financial cushions, helping households manage unexpected costs without resorting to high-interest debt that can create additional long-term challenges. This legislation also attracted attention because it reflects evolving conversations about retirement security across America. Demographic trends clearly indicate an aging population, and increased life expectancy means retirement benefits often must stretch further than they did for previous generations. Policymakers increasingly recognize that retirement represents not a brief transitional period, but rather a substantial life chapter deserving appropriate planning and support structures. The passage of this legislation further highlights Social Security's ongoing importance as a national commitment. Since its establishment, the program has operated on the fundamental principle that workers contribute throughout their careers and receive appropriate support during retirement years. Moments like this reinforce that principle by demonstrating governmental responsiveness to changing conditions. Whenever Congress passes legislation involving federal expenditures, questions regarding long-term sustainability naturally emerge. Supporters argue that targeted assistance measures can coexist successfully with comprehensive long-term planning approaches. Critics appropriately call for continued evaluation, ensuring program strength for future retiree generations. These debates constitute normal policy process elements, but what matters most immediately for current beneficiaries involves understanding how impending changes may affect their personal financial situations. Financial advisors frequently recommend thoughtful utilization of unexpected funds. While every household situation differs, numerous experts suggest prioritizing essential expenses first. Addressing overdue obligations, replenishing savings accounts, or managing healthcare requirements can strengthen overall financial resilience. Even modest adjustments can produce lasting benefits, extending well beyond the immediate payment period. There exists something deeply reassuring about knowing policymakers actively attend to retirees' lived experiences. Government programs can sometimes feel distant or abstract, but legislation like this emerges from genuine conversations about daily challenges real people face. When leaders discuss protecting dignity during retirement years, they acknowledge that financial stability remains closely intertwined with personal independence. Some retirees may question whether this supplementary payment signals broader structural reforms ahead. While no single piece of legislation can address every challenge facing the retirement system, this measure does reflect momentum in ongoing efforts to adapt policies to contemporary realities. Economies transform, healthcare approaches evolve, and living costs shift over time. Programs must demonstrate corresponding adaptability. As implementation phases begin, communication will prove critically important. Administrative agencies typically work to provide clear updates, enabling beneficiaries to understand what they should expect. Staying informed through official announcements helps prevent unnecessary worry and confusion. Remember that large-scale payment operations require substantial coordination, and careful rollout procedures ultimately protect payment accuracy. For couples where both partners receive benefits, supplementary payments could provide additional flexibility within combined household budgets. For single retirees, such payments may create breathing room, allowing them to focus less on financial strain and more on daily living activities and personal well-being. While individual impacts will vary, the fundamental intention behind this measure remains straightforward: strengthening financial footing during periods when many households feel economically stretched. It is worth noting that policy decisions frequently involve balancing urgency against administrative responsibility. Acting too slowly leaves people struggling without needed support, while acting too hastily without adequate planning creates implementation complications, potentially delaying assistance or causing errors. Lawmakers repeatedly characterized this bill as an attempt to strike that essential balance. During conversations preceding the vote, numerous officials emphasized respect for those who helped build the nation through decades of productive work. This message resonates strongly with older Americans seeking reassurance that their lifelong contributions receive appropriate recognition. Retirement should represent a period characterized by stability rather than persistent financial anxiety. As this discussion continues, remember that legislative passage represents only the beginning of an ongoing process. Implementation transforms written law into tangible real-world results affecting millions of households. Agencies must align their systems, confirm eligibility information, and coordinate payment schedules accordingly. While this work occurs largely behind the scenes, it remains essential for ensuring funds arrive correctly and beneficiaries receive what lawmakers intended. Perhaps one of the most encouraging aspects of this development involves the reminder that policy can indeed evolve. Programs established generations ago are not frozen in time. They can be thoughtfully updated to reflect new economic landscapes and emerging population needs. For now, the key takeaway remains simple, yet profoundly meaningful. Congress has acted, and the focus now shifts toward delivering additional financial support to Social Security beneficiaries. In an environment where economic headlines sometimes create uncertainty, moments of concrete action carry genuine weight. Whenever financial legislation generates headlines, speculation frequently follows regarding what such measures might signal about future directions. Some analysts view this bill as part of broader recognition that retirement policy must continue evolving alongside changing circumstances. Economic landscapes inevitably transform, and programs must demonstrate capacity for adaptation to remain effective over time. Nevertheless, experts caution against assuming any single measure answers every question about long-term solvency or benefit design. Instead, they encourage viewing this legislation as one step within an ongoing policy development process. Governance rarely involves single decisive events. It more often comprises a series of adjustments shaped by accumulating data, practical experience, and public feedback. For retirees, the practical focus remains clear and actionable. Understanding how to utilize additional funds wisely can enhance their positive impact. Many advisors suggest approaching unexpected income with intentionality. Addressing essential needs first creates stability, extending beyond the moment payments actually arrive. Some households may choose replenishing savings previously tapped for emergency situations. Others might apply funds toward reducing outstanding balances, thereby making future household budgets more manageable. Even relatively modest improvements can build meaningful resilience against future uncertainty. There exists genuine emotional value in feeling recognized by institutions designed to support older Americans. When legislation acknowledges real-world challenges people actually experience, it reinforces the understanding that retirees navigate economic shifts with appropriate support structures. This reassurance carries significance, extending far beyond whatever dollar amounts particular payments might represent. The passage of this bill also highlights something fundamental about Social Security itself. For generations, it has functioned as a promise, a shared commitment ensuring those contributing during working years receive meaningful protection later in life. Updates like this demonstrate that the promise remains dynamic, capable of responding when circumstances warrant attention. Many policymakers describe this measure as both practical and respectful. Practical because it addresses immediate financial strain beneficiaries currently experience, and respectful because it recognizes the lifelong efforts of those depending on the program today. As implementation moves forward, communication will remain critically important. Clear guidance helps beneficiaries understand expectations and reduces unnecessary concern about what comes next. While large-scale payment operations naturally involve substantial coordination requirements, the underlying intention involves delivering support as smoothly as possible to those eligible. For couples planning monthly finances together, supplementary payments may create room for adjustments previously postponed due to budget constraints. For individuals living alone, such payments might provide reassurance that essential expenses can be met without constant recalculation and anxiety about making ends meet. Each household situation remains unique, yet the underlying goal involves shared stability across the beneficiary population. It is also helpful maintaining appropriate perspective during moments like this. Financial policy typically unfolds gradually, with each decision contributing incrementally to larger retirement security frameworks. While headlines naturally focus on immediate developments, the deeper narrative involves sustaining systems millions depend upon for their basic well-being. Looking ahead, conversations about Social Security will undoubtedly continue. Questions regarding funding mechanisms, demographic changes, and benefit adequacy constitute essential components of responsible governance. Yet the passage of this bill offers a tangible reminder that action remains possible when needs become clearly identified and widely acknowledged. For many retirees, what matters most involves not political processes but practical outcomes. Knowing assistance is forthcoming and that their financial reality has received appropriate acknowledgement brings genuine comfort. Stability creates freedom, freedom to focus attention on health, family relationships, community connections, and the everyday moments collectively defining meaningful retirement experiences. Reflecting on everything discussed, the central message emerges unmistakably clear. Congress has taken deliberate action intended to reinforce financial security for Social Security beneficiaries, authorizing additional support during a period when numerous households feel economically stretched. The supplementary payment represents more than mere numbers on a statement. It demonstrates responsiveness to the voices and experiences of older Americans who have contributed throughout their lives. Perhaps that recognition constitutes the most important takeaway of all. Retirement should never be dominated by persistent uncertainty about meeting basic needs. It should represent a life chapter marked by dignity, predictability, and confidence that systems you contributed to stand ready to provide support when it matters most. Remember what this update genuinely represents: evidence that policymakers attend seriously to economic realities facing seniors, confirmation that Social Security continues evolving alongside the population it serves, and demonstration of how targeted action can strengthen financial foundations so many households depend upon for security. Stay attentive to official communications as implementation progresses through administrative channels. Remain patient while agencies coordinate appropriate distribution mechanisms and approach any additional funds with thoughtful planning intentions. Even carefully measured support can create meaningful breathing room within household budgets, allowing beneficiaries to move forward with greater assurance about their financial futures and personal well-being.
Yeah, grind mode on, can't kill my drive. Turn the pressure up, I come alive. Grind mode on, I don't fold, I don't quit. Hunger in my chest, every beat I commit. Eyes on the prize, no sleep till it's won. World in my hands when the grind mode's on. Wake up with a vision, I'm locked on the target. Turn pain into fuel, I'm a flame, I spark it. No shortcuts here, I embrace every test. Pressure on my shoulders, still I handle it best. I was made for the climb, every loss, every scar built me into steel, now I shine like a star. If the road gets rough, I just double my speed. Ambition on 10, I was born to lead. Grind mode on, I don't fold, I don't quit. Hunger in my chest, every beat I commit. Eyes on the prize, no sleep till it's won. World in my hands when the grind mode's on. They said limits exist, but I shattered the frame. Every wall in my path is just fuel for the frame. Discipline heavy, but my spirit is free. I don't chase success, success chases me. I'm the storm and the calm, I'm the rise, I'm the proof. Every bar that I drop is the grind in the booth. Blood, sweat, tears, that's the code I trust. I don't wait for the crown, I earn it, I must.